Announcements none, papers none, question.
Madam Speaker, to ask the Honourable Minister of Social Integration and Economic Empowerment whether in regard to the National Corporate Social Responsibility Foundation, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain information as to A. For the 18 months ended 30th June 2018 and for the period 1st July 2018 to date, the amount of CSR contributions received and receivable from the Accountant General. B. The amount of cash balances and amounts receivable from the Accountant General as at today's date. And C. The amounts paid to non-governmental organizations in respect of approved projects for the period 1st July 2018 to date. And D. The arrangements that will now be made to financially assist organizations other than those engaged in the support of vulnerable children and for the provisions of creche nurseries by the proposed National Social Inclusion Foundation.
Madam Speaker, first of all, one other thing I want to tell is that yesterday I was in a clinic and I received messages that I would not come today to answer to the question because I would chicken out, I would run away, I'm afraid. But here I am, Madam Speaker, I'm going to answer to all the questions. Thank you. Madam Speaker, with a view to encouraging and enabling environment for public, private and civil society partnership for supporting the poor and vulnerable groups, government made provision in the 2016-2017 budget speech for a new CSR framework to ensure greater social outcomes with the setting up of a national CSR foundation. Madam Speaker, the advent of the National CSR Foundation has provided a breathing space for NGOs involved in delivering services targeting the poor and vulnerable segments of the populations in complementarily with public services. Madam Speaker, during the 2016-2017 pre-budget consultation, numerous representations were received from civil society organizations concerning the operation of the CSR system. The main criticism level were as followed. First, absence of a coordinated approach on poverty alleviation. Second, arbitrariness and lack of transparency in the allocation of CSR funds by companies. Third, difficulty in assessing funds by some deserving NGOs and other civil society organizations. Third, in the absence of guidelines, there has been a proliferation of all types of organizations just to benefit from the CSR funds. And fifth, absence of adequate monitoring and evaluation of CSR programs and activities. There was a strong perception that CSR funds were not directed to the support of vulnerable groups as originally intended. Madam Speaker, since its setting up, the Foundation has developed a funding framework that promotes better accountability and transparency in the use of CSR funds, effective monitoring and smooth implementation of programs and projects funded, mentoring support to organizations for better compliance with reporting requirements of the Foundation, a coordinated approach in the financing of NGOs, collaborative partnership with public, private and civil society, and more impactful intervention for better contribution to national priorities and sustainable development goals. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed that the National CSR Foundation, that for the 18-month period ended 30th June 2018, the receivable amount was 675,914,348 rupees, of which the Foundation received an amount of 503,506,644 rupees, and the outstanding amount of 172,407,704 rupees was received in July 2018. from the Accountant General, being contributions of CSR funds from the private sector. For the period of 1st July 2018 to date, the Foundation has received an amount of 421,343,605 rupees. Madam Speaker, the quantum of the receivable amount for the period of 1st July 2018 to date will depend on the profit to be made by companies. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, the amount of cash balance as of date is 748.2 million rupees. Madam Speaker, concerning Part C of the question, for period 1st July 2018 to date, an amount of 276,505,166 rupees has been disbursed to 206 NGOs for 280 approved projects. The remaining amount of 471.7 million rupees is already committed. Madam Speaker, as regard to Part D of the question, organizations registered with the Foundation will continue to receive financial support. The Foundation will finance programs and projects of NGOs engaged in the 10 priority areas of the Foundation for the benefits of the beneficiaries and defined in its charter. Madam Speaker, I'm tabling the categories of beneficiaries and lists of the 10 priority areas. Madam Speaker, as announced as paragraph 276 of the 2019-2020 budget speech, the National CSR Foundation will be transformed in a National Social Inclusion Foundation. The new entity will identify national programs for better impact on poverty alleviation, education being the key factor in the fight against poverty. The Foundation will, in the first instance, focus on creche and nursery facilities and on additional educational support to vulnerable children. Additionally, the National Social Inclusion Foundation will develop other national programs in consultation with all stakeholders in the other areas of intervention of the Foundation, with a view to promoting social inclusions and to improve the welfare of vulnerable groups. Madam Speaker, it is a matter of justified pride to inform the House that since 2016, the National CSR Foundation has been ensuring that the allocation of public funds to NGOs is governed by the principles and practices of good governance, which include financial prudence and accountability as well as transparency. All information pertaining to programs and projects funded by the Foundation is made available on its website.
Speaker, I assure you that I sent no message to the Minister. Madam Speaker, regrettably. Madam Speaker, there were originally some 800 NGOs registered at the NEF, at the CSR Foundation, and now, committee I think it was at the time, now we see that only 200 have received funding from the National CSR Foundation. So the obvious question is, there are 600 less NGOs. Does the Minister know why they have ceased their activities, firstly? And secondly, if he knows why, what attempt has been made by the NCSR to encourage these persons, who are volunteers after all, doing a good job for society, what attempt has been made to encourage them to restart?
Madam Speaker, there are criteria that are being set down so that the NGOs should apply, and they should have 2 years at least so that they can register of activities before they can register to the CSR foundations. So far, there are 389 that has been registered at our ministry. We did not receive any other NGOs that has come to register, as stipulated by the leader of the opposition.
Speaker, that's not my question.
Ask one question at a time,
Yes,
please.
okay. I will try and ask one question. My question is, there were 800 already registered at the NEF. Now there are 200 have got money, 600 have disappeared. It's a simple question. So really, I think the minister ought to be concerned with the fact that 600 NGOs have ceased activities all around the island and in Rodrigues. So obviously the question is, have you tried to find out why they have stopped? And we should not treat all NGOs as thieves. Have you tried to encourage them to restart?
Madam Speaker, I replied to the question and I said that there are criteria that have been set down because there was a strong, the people were perceived that it was not being made as it is. That's why we set down these criteria. And all NGOs were invited to come and register themselves. And I said now there are 389 that are so far registered. So the others, if the leader of the opposition have the information and have these NGOs that come to him, he should ask them to come and register. And if they are eligible, they would be registered and they would receive funds from the CSR Foundation.
Madam Speaker, 5 million rupees is spent on board members as fees for board members. Surely I don't have to do that job. That is not correct. Now, Madam Speaker, I'm going to ask Honourable Minister this. Apparently, all the projects that are sent, and it's easy to see also, systematically, the NCSR gives you only 40% of what you asked, 50% of what you ask. You have to beg, you have to come and see the minister. Why is that? Why are we treating all these NGOs like that they have to come and beg for the rest of their money? Sometimes it's given, sometimes it's refused.
Madam Speaker, as I think I mentioned, that they are now, all the funds are not being dispersed straight away. Because it has happened in a few cases, when I get the information, I can tell it. There are NGOs that has not used the fund properly and they have come to give back the money themselves because they don't correspond to the criteria set down by the NCSR Foundation. And other NGOs, I said again, if ever they are missing information, we have a desk that is working very nicely and asking them then telling them, giving them the instruction on how to come and register themselves to the foundation.
Mr. Speaker, we're not talking about part payment of 50%. I'm talking about the actual amount approved is 50%, most cases, of what has been asked. Obviously, then the 50% is again split so that it is paid during the year. I'm talking about the problem, and it's a real problem. I assure the minister that people are complaining that they only get a meager amount of what they ask for.
It's about 50% when they are approved that they receive. Once they receive that fund, there's a monitoring that goes behind. It's like at the bank when you ask for a loan. All that the money is not given to you. It's being disbursed into periods, into different installments. And that's what we are doing. And once the monitoring is doing, I want to say something about the frais, but I'm not going to mention it at this time, what happened in that case. So this is what we are doing. We cannot give all the money from right at the beginning. If they are doing the thing right, as they are setting down, they will receive the fund. That's why all the money that is left has already been earmarked for these NGOs. We cannot give all the money once.
I think my question has been misunderstood. This is not a question of part payments. Not a question of part payments. It's a question of only 50% of the money asked for is approved. But anyway, I don't want to go. I think I'm getting lost into all this, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Now, I'm going to ask this. The Honourable Minister is saying that part of the problem is that people are not honest with the money and they're not good at keeping accounts and whatever, because they waste the money. There are some very great, most respectable household names that are bitterly complaining nowadays about lack of funds and have had to close down many of their activities. Do I need to mention Caritas to the Honourable Minister? Do I need to mention Kinuete? Blood donors, all this has been in the press. Blood Donors Association, Enfant, Chrysalide, Otis Morris. Are you going to put them all in the same basket? Because I presume they are not honest with their money, that you have cut down so much their money? This is what I'm asking.
Madam Speaker, so far we did not receive these complaints at the NCSR foundations.
The Honourable Minister should read the papers. You will see there. I've not taken the names myself. I've taken these from the papers. Madam Minister, all this is my point. It's not a nasty point, whatever you may think. The point is this. The NCSR is sitting on 750 million rupees CSR that belong to the NGOs. There's another 150, 200 million rupees that will come from the Accountant General. We're talking nearly 1 billion rupees that the NCSR is sitting on this money. Whereas, Madam Speaker, so many NGOs have closed down, especially in the drug fighting sphere. So many are complaining. So many have cut down their activities. Do you find it normal that there has been so much red tape, so much bureaucracy put into this sector, which was never meant to be a bureaucratic sector, that you end up sitting with nearly 1 billion rupees soon at the end of the financial year of cash in the bank, whereas so many NGOs are dying for lack of funds?
Madam Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition keeps on repeating the same question to me, and I'm going to reply the same answer. We did not receive any complaint. Donc, Madame la Présidente, je viens d'avoir une certaine information, telle que Caritas a reçu jusqu'à présent 17 millions de roupies pour ses œuvres. C'est peut-être pas assez parce que Caritas fait énormément dans le pays. Mais le reste sera déboursé en temps et lieu quand ils vont servir de l'argent, et c'est cela que nous faisons. Et ça, ce sont les principes de la bonne gouvernance et de se servir des fonds publics effectivement.
Because the minister is getting mixed up between approved amounts and part payment. I don't know what to do. Can you advise me? He's getting mixed up between approved payments and part payment. Approved payments and part payment. Never mind.
But probably you should ask the question one by one.
Yes,
I
did
ask for part
one by
payment,
one.
you ask for part payment, and when you ask for approved
Okay, I'm afraid I don't know if it was confusing. Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister, and believe me, these questions are in good faith, huh? Believe me. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister, there's a limit of 3 million rupees per project. You are aware of that. 3 million rupees per project. Now we know that housing is a terrible issue and horrible government performance in that issue. Why then, instead of encouraging housing associations, which are a wonderful way of providing social housing, whether it's for rent or for purchase, why then limit your contribution per NGO to 3 million rupees even for housing, when it could be increased, seeing you're sitting on 1 billion rupees worth of money? It could be increased, therefore housing associations, like the rest of the world, could get involved in housing in Mauritius. It's a serious question. Can it be the limit for housing associations, par exemple, could be increased?
Madame la Présidente, j'ai bien écouté le leader de l'opposition qui a fait plusieurs propositions, fait plus que des questions. Et donc ces propositions, nous pourrons éventuellement nous asseoir et discuter. S'il a des meilleures idées, ben, qu'il vienne de l'avant et qu'il le fasse avec nous. Et je dois dire, j'ai aussi entendu 1 milliard de roupies.
No, but he has
il a fait
right to a fair reply. He has the floor. So allow him to reply.
Donc, comme il a mentionné à un moment 1 milliard de roupies. Nous sommes loin d'1 milliard de roupies. Il ne faut pas oublier que nous ne prenons pas les 100% de l'argent qui est supposé être donné du CSA des compagnies. Il existe encore 75 et 25%. Donc les 25% restent toujours avec les sociétés privées. And funds are disbursed on, I'm going to repeat again, on 2 installments for approved budget. So I don't want you to repeat that again. Thank you.
Okay, I'll come to that graphically in a moment, perhaps. Did you or not state that you have 748 million rupees in the bank? and that also the amount receivable from the Accountant General hasn't come yet, and that will be about 200 million rupees, I know. Did you not say that? Is that a straight question?
No. No, it's, you mentioned again 750 million. It's far from 1 billion rupees. Okay? And then to answer also to the other questions that I've just been right down there, that the NCSR Foundation is not mandated to build houses, but these are propositions, and I heard it, there's a proposition, we'll take it on board.
Madam Speaker, I'm going to ask another question to the Honourable Minister. The NGOs are financed by calls. You are aware of that, calls. Calls once a year, but at no particular time. Sometimes it's just a call is in April, and then it's in September of the next year. So what are the NGOs meant to do? They are meant to sit there and read the papers, look at your website to know when they are going to do a call. Isn't it time, firstly, it's one question, firstly, to have the calls at a precise time during the year. Secondly, to have many more calls so that people who have viable projects during the year don't have to wait another 12 months to apply.
Thank you, Madame Speaker. Encore une fois, ça, ce sont des propositions que le leader de l'opposition vient faire. Ce ne serait pas des propositions parce que vous dites, il dit que nous le faisons périodiquement quand nous sommes à notre bon vouloir. Ce n'est pas cela. Les NGOs peuvent venir à n'importe quel moment déposer, enregistrer. À n'importe quel moment, ils peuvent le faire. Mais bien sûr, quand les appels est fait à une date précise, nous étudions à cette date.
Madam Speaker, what's the point of having calls which are transparent if at any point in time you are making an application? I cannot see anywhere in the records of the NCSR that you are taking applications during the year. It is when calls are made, and I'm saying to you that you're not doing your job well. The NCSR is not doing. Call it a proposition if you like. That is also my role, to see when work is not being done well, that you're not doing your job well, that the fact is, if I want to put it more crudely for you, that the fact is you are making...
I don't think you can pass a judgment on the minister. It's not ethical here to pass a judgment on whether the minister is doing his job well or not. Ask the questions. If he can reply, he'll reply. If he cannot reply, he'll not reply.
Okay, fair enough, Madam Speaker. I don't want to go overboard. I'm saying again, so that you understand that it's important, firstly, not to have a limit and to encourage, if you can, housing associations to sprout all around the island. It will help. And also that you would have calls much more often during the year and at specific times, say once every 3 months, so that people can actually know when to send their projects and do so more often. Would you look into this, please?
Madam Speaker, again, I will look into the proposition of the leader of the opposition, but I believe it's like budget measures. It's like when the money is given, this is a specific time. That's why there's a specific date that we ask for the call of appropriation. That's it.
I remind the Honourable Minister that he's sitting on nearly ₹1 billion of money at the moment. Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister this question. There is no money, as far as I can see, that has been spent on capacity building. I know you had little courses and all that yourself. But with all this money, and you're complaining that NGOs are not well good enough, etc., doing their work well, why hasn't the NCSR Foundation found it proper to appoint people, etc., to do strong, and you see even people behind you are nodding their heads, and why don't you do that and do capacity building as you should, so that you can ensure that the money is not only well spent, but that you have many more NGOs that pass the test and can work in Mauritius?
Yes, Madam Speaker, the provision has been made in this budget to review the NCSR into the national NSIF. And all the proposition of the leader of the opposition will be taken on board. And there's also, I will I table, if whenever it's possible, I get the information. There are so many new NGOs that were not even being able to receive funds, and they were doing so well. You know, I go around myself. When I visited these NGOs, and I asked them to come to the NCSR Foundation and please and make the proposition to us, and they have received funds. These people are so happy today. There will be some NGOs that I'm going to give you to the table.
Speaker, the original point of the CSR, which I regret very much is not happening anymore, was to marry three things. One, money. Second, passion of the enterprise. And thirdly, management help by the enterprise. What has happened now, except for the 25%, which nobody really cares about anymore, it's too little. So what has happened now with l'étatisation du volontariat, Maurice, what has happened was that money is still around, but it goes round and takes years to come. Passion has been destroyed, and also any help that the companies would give to the management of these enterprises, of these NGOs, has also disappeared. So I'd like to ask the Minister whether he has any plan, any thought, any action that he will take to try and restore these three elements in the CSR, which were the original raison d'être du CSR.
Leader of Opposition, I draw your attention to the fact that you have 4 more minutes to go.
Listening very well, Madam Speaker, to the Leader of Opposition, and there are lots of opinions that he's expressing himself about his opinions. This is not the opinion also that we receive at the NCSR Foundation. But if ever, you know, listening to more propositions today, I will take it on board whenever it's possible.
Yes, Honorable Pierre.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Dans le programme électoral de l'Alliance Les PEP en 2014, sur le thème « La jeunesse et les sports », au 8e point, mention est faite du financement du sport par le biais du CSR, le Corporate Social Responsibility. Et cela afin de développer une politique favorable pour le sport d'élite. De ce fait, peut-on savoir pourquoi cette mesure préconisée, promise par l'Alliance Les PEP, par le gouvernement actuel, n'a jamais été implémentée jusqu'à présent?
Madame la Présidente, je n'ai pas cette information qui est là dans les 10 priorités qui est fait par ce gouvernement actuellement.
Honorable Adrien Duval.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I ask the Minister, with regards to money that has been earmarked up until December, the end of the mandate, for distribution. May we know from the Minister how much has been pledged already or earmarked for distribution out of that 1 billion rupees that he's sitting on yearly?
Can somebody give me the information? I don't have it with me now. Thank you. These are figures.
In the meantime, we can take...
And can I, Madam Speaker, I just received an information about on the 7th priority areas, leisure and sports. There have been 10 projects funded, and there is an amount of 7,801,531 rupees. That is 3.85% of the project. There were 18 that were being asked, and 10 has been given. Thank you.
Can the Honourable Minister lay on the table of the Assembly the set criteria for eligibility to have recourse to the fund of the CSR?
There are 10 priority areas. It's already been tabled on that.
Just tabled. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, you've just tabled the criteria. Okay, that will be circulated.
Reply to my question. He hasn't even acknowledged it. If he can please do so,
Please, Honorable Adrien Duval, it's up to the Minister to see whether he will reply or not.
Madam Speaker, I said I don't have the information. As soon as I get the information, I will table it.
Okay, last question, Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Okay. Leader of Opposition, Madam Speaker.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Leader of Proposition about it.
I said leader of opposition.
Yes, I know. I'm just maybe suggesting change my title. Maybe. Because it's actually both. Madam Speaker, I'd like to also, Honourable Minister, that we have witnessed over the last 3-4 years, everybody knows it, massive downsizing of work by the NGOs, which were, I maintain, in the great majority, doing fantastic work. People like Caritas, Kinuete, Blood Donors Association, etc., etc. Lots of them. And the main reason for that is firstly the refusal to pay, this reduction, drastic reduction in what they claim as expenses. Secondly, the massive and excessive bureaucracy at the National CSR Foundation. So I would ask the Minister if he can see to it that the massive and excessive bureaucracy at the National CSR Foundation, treating all NGOs as if they were thieves, even huge and respectable ones, that should cease, and we should go back to a voluntary sector which is full of enthusiasm, patriotism, and wishing to work for the country.
Madam Speaker, once again, this is the opinion of the leader of the opposition, because to what the information that I receive, that I don't have this complaint that came to me. Of course, I heard it's been written on newspaper, but do I have to take into account what is written on newspaper? Because I have an office, and the CSR Foundation has offices also there at the NEF building. They can all come. They will, if they are eligible, they will receive the money. They will receive it, as we said, not the whole fund at the same time. We'd earmark the first installment. Then when the monitoring is done, now after the monitoring that we are doing, we found out that there are NGOs that are not using the money as there should be. And one of these NGOs is Faith, exactly. I've been given that, I've been given the information. And there are more information about this. You know, the last time the Honorable Ratna asked a question and I didn't have the exact information. When I received the information myself, I was very shocked. You see, the Honorable Member didn't give the right information to the House. He said that he was not with the Faith. It's broadly being on the website. He claimed himself as being the chairman of Faith, distributing different things. And one of the things I discovered, he traveled to Rodrigo Island and the Faith paid the money for him.
Honorable Armance, you stand up and say this. Stand up and say this.
He's a liar.
He's a liar. I'll ask you to withdraw this.
Okay, I will withdraw it, but he's a liar.
No, you withdraw unconditionally. I will not accept it. I will not accept it.
Okay, I withdraw.
Okay, time is over.
Motion.
No, Honorable Perron, don't obstruct the work of this House. Okay?
On a point of order, is the Honourable Minister allowed to impute motive? That is substantiated. It's not fair.
Honorable Boulel, if you think that the Minister has made allegations, then he takes his responsibility and then he will come to the House and explain later. In a statement he can come and explain. Okay?